Welcome to today's episode of the Beyond Fulfillment podcast, where we dive deep into the inspiring journey of Anmol Singh, the mastermind behind Live Traders. Anmol transformed his dorm room in London into a thriving trading hub, leading to early success and recognition by Forbes and Business Insider. On social media platforms like Instagram and X, he shares insights and educates a global audience on trading, risk management, and financial growth. In this episode, Anmol takes us on a fascinating ride through his career, discussing his journey from being an introverted college student to a successful trader and entrepreneur. We explore the challenges he faced, including finding trustworthy guidance in the saturated world of trading advice, and the valuable lessons learned from his unexpected ventures, like opening an auto service franchise to achieve his dream of moving to New York. You'll hear about his emphasis on building a system based on singles and doubles instead of chasing quick riches, the importance of emotional stability in trading, and his vision for empowering others through Evolve Mastermind Group. Whether you're an aspiring trader or you just love a good success story, this episode is packed with insights and inspiration that you won't want to miss. As always, if you found value from this content, please like and subscribe. All right, Anmol Singh, founder of Live Traders. Welcome to Beyond Fulfillment.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to chatting with you.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to our conversation as well. So Anmol, let's start with the image that captured so many imaginations. A dorm room in London transformed into a trading nerve center. Was there a specific moment or a light bulb event that ignited this obsession with the markets?
Yeah, I think for me it was I was a complete introvert, so I always wanted to find something that I could do from my computer, where I don't have to deal with office politics and networking and all of that stuff. So I always was a typical guy in my dorm room, playing Xbox. So for me, finding something to do on the computer was like the ideal situation. And the time for me where it really became an interest was, I think it was my first, second year of college, where I went to college in London. So there you had to get like an internship or some sort of work experience before you can graduate. So you had like a whole year where they had you work. And that was a time where I applied for a lot of different jobs, a lot of different internships, and I just wasn't able to get a call back. So I saw all my friends, getting great internships, great job, and I had this whole year where I had to do something, but I wasn't able to secure a job. And I think that's when it dawned on me that I can't just rely and sit here in my dorm room waiting for somebody to give me a job or to give me something. So I had to make something happen. And that was a whole year where I used to, read up as many books as I can on the subject, research as much as I could, and really dive in. And the more I learned, the more curious I became. The more I wanted to figure out, okay, what causes stocks to go up and down? What causes it to, the price to go up, price to go down? What causes that? Who decides that? Like, I wanted to know everything about it. So I spent like the first 3 to 4 months of that year just like basically locking myself in the room and learning as much as I could get my hands on. Anything to do with the markets, I would just devour that information. And that's when I realized that I'm actually really curious about this. And I think curiosity is a big reason for people making it or not in any endeavor. And I wanted to learn everything. Why did I make that mistake? Why did that trade didn't work out? Why did the investment didn't work out? And I think that curiosity is what put me on this path to trading.
Okay. And you've mentioned dedicating nights to analysis and then days to execution. So in those early days, the intense days, what was the single most challenging obstacle that you faced and how'd you overcome it?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, the hardest part is not knowing who to trust, right? Like you're coming into the stock market and you're like, okay, but who do I listen to? There's so many different people. Somebody says, okay, you should invest by looking at the company, the balance sheet, value investing. And some people say, oh, none of that matters, momentum, technical trading. And then even inside of technical trading, some people use indicators, some use other people, different. So there's so many different ways to make money in the market, so many different strategies. Some people do options, some people do foreign exchange. So in this business, there was a lot of different things. So in the early stages was, okay, who do I trust? Who do I listen to? Who do I learn from? Right. And I think for me, that was kind of the hardest decision until I, found a mentor that I really, liked his personality, liked his style, and somebody who's been doing this for a while. And I basically contacted him, got in touch with him, and had him, mentor me and to who I am today.
Freight shippers, are you tired of dealing with unreliable freight brokers? Tired of delays, missed delivery appointments, and no one to talk to? Tired of unpleasant surprises, reclass, reweighs, and the invoice always being higher than the quote? Well, you can enjoy a better freight experience with SPI Logistics. I joined SPI as a freight agent to deliver that better freight experience to our 3PL customers. SPI has 30,000 vetted and approved carriers, all modes of transportation, so we can tailor the equipment to the shipment, and the fully trained and experienced operations team who is always available to help. And you'll get the same quality customer service that you've come to expect when you deal with me. If you've got freight to move, go to freightbydave.com. That's freightbydave.com. Okay, and that was basically how you figured out who to trust is through your mentor?
Yeah, so I took when just like I think anybody else, when you try to learn something online, you'd go online and you find these webinars coming up. And back in the day, they used to be all over the place, these trading webinars people talking about. So I attended a lot of them, and what I noticed was everybody was talking about how great trading is, how much money you can make, which I always looked at as like a red flag, right? There's got to be negatives as too. But everybody always wanted to talk about the winning trades, whereas I attended one of the online webinars, and this guy was talking more about how hard trading is. He's talking about the pitfalls, the losing trades. And I was like, this person's being honest with me, so that's kind of who I trusted. And I learned, from him. As then I, ended up joining a proprietary trading firm, which is basically a company that hires traders. The company gives them their money to trade. And then in exchange, they take a percentage of everything that you make for them. For the giving you the money. So I joined a prop firm, and then I really got mentored under that company, and develop good trading habits and kind of work my way up while I was still in college in my dorm.
Okay. And at 22 years old, you'd amassed a fortune at drawing the attention of Forbes and Business Insider. But beyond the financial success, what was the most surreal or unexpected experience during that time?
I think the unexpected thing for me actually was like not really unexpected, but I think the most interesting thing for me was moving to New York, because I was born in India. I went to London to do my college university degree, and that's when I started learning how to trade the US stock market. And I would do that, while I was living in London. But I always wanted to move to America. I was like, it was one of my goals. I want to move to New York. I had above my computer desk like a vision board of like skyscrapers in New York City and all the typical thing that a guy would want in that age. So I had all of that and I wanted to achieve it. But then I was like, okay, how do I move to New York? Like, they're not going to just let me in for trading. And I tried. I contact my, attorney, immigration lawyer. He's like, well, you can't come just based on trading because trading is an online thing. They're not going to just, give you a green card or whatever because you can do it online. You don't have to be here. So then I looked at a different way. I saved up enough money, and then I started a auto service franchise, right, which is like auto service center. And the only reason I did that is because that way I can start a physical business that needs to be in the U.S. And I employed like 10 people, so I created employment, and then based on that is how I actually came to the country, with a green card. So that was a thing where I had no interest in that business. I had no experience in that business, but I only did it to meet my goal of moving to America, right? So I put in all the money that I saved up from my trading into that business, and that was unexpected because I knew nothing about that business. But looking back, I think that was a great learning experience because it got me out of the shell, got me a little bit comfortable managing people, talking to people, and I think it built skills in a very different way that I use now. Now I speak all around the world, traveling and speaking to hedge fund managers and all of that. And I think all of those doors opened for me when I moved to America.
Ah, okay. Especially for, like you said, being an introvert and then being forced to run a physical business like that had to develop some, like you said, so many skills that serve you so much better today.
100%. Yeah. But I think the other point to that was like making money early was awesome right, in my 20s. But at the same time, it was not all positive because, like what happens was like when growing up, as I said, I was a complete introvert, be in my dorm room all the time, and now I'm in New York City and making all this money. Sometimes you can get carried away too, when you make money early on in your 20s. So I think that was also pretty unexpected because I thought I'm emotionally calm and stable, and then you're in your 20s, you make a lot of money, you get all this attention that you never got growing up, right? I think that could also be a negative too. But I kind of grew over that phase of my life. I would be be flashy. You spend the money, you do all these things to try to maybe fill in for the time that you didn't get in college. But I think that was a good learning experience for anybody. Is like you make money, but learning how to keep it is a completely different ball game.
Absolutely. And many people dream of getting rich quick through trading. And as someone that's experienced that, what's the biggest misconception about making that money so early? And what's the brutal truth that people need to understand?
Yeah, so I don't believe in get rich quick. I don't think that exists, right? Because usually people who get rich quick also end up giving it back, right? Like we've heard of all these crypto millionaires and all these people who made money on this one stock that just went up big time. But that's not a career, right? That's not a profession. You can get lucky once. Anybody can get lucky once, but luck is not always going to repeat itself. And it's not a strategy that you can rely on for long-term success. So for me, it's all about singles and doubles, right? I don't look for home runs in my trades or investments. I don't look for one trade or investment to make me the money. It's all singles and doubles, slow wins compound over time and create your success. And that success is consistent and that success lasts for the long run. Because people who made money really, really quickly, they also end up giving it back really, really quickly because they haven't built any good habits or a system to attain that consistently. So I think that's the pitfall is like people who try to get rich quick, they come to trading for the wrong reasons. They often learn the hard way and they end up losing a lot of money. So proper money management and risk management is key to trading. Because as they say, the saying goes, in order to make money, you need to trade or invest. In order to trade or invest, you need to have money to trade in the first place. If you run out of chips, you can't bet, right? So money management and risk management is absolutely paramount to trading.
Okay. And you've built live traders to guide aspiring traders. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice before that first trade, what would it be?
I would say focus on taking it really slow and building a strategy, building a system. Because a lot of people, the way they trade or invest in the stock market is they say, "Ooh, I think this stock is going to go up." I mean, your thinking doesn't mean anything. The market doesn't care about our thinking. Market is what the market is, right? So I think a stock is going to go up. It's not a strategy. That's hope, and hope is not a strategy. So the what I would tell my younger self is like, don't try to get rich quick. Don't try to hit the home runs, singles and doubles. Build a system that you can consistently follow for the rest of your life and that will get you the results. And that's kind of the transformation for me that I made is moving past looking at making money on this one big trade or investment and rather a series of smaller trades. I think that's what got me the success. And if I did that in my first year, I would be there even quicker.
Ah, all right. And the stock market is notoriously volatile. How do you personally manage the emotional roller coaster that comes with significant wins and losses?
Yeah, so trading is it's one of those businesses that is heavily relied on you and your psychology and your mindset. Because think about it, right? Growing up, our parents are telling us what to do. And then we go to school, our teachers are telling us what to do. And then we go to university or college, our professors are telling us what to do. And then what happens? We get a job. Our manager, our supervisor, our boss is telling us what to do. And now when you come to trading, there's nobody going to tell you what to do. It's you and the computer, right? Whatever you do, you decide is what's going to happen, right? So nobody controls your results, which means trading is the greatest meritocracy out there. But that also means it comes with great responsibility on your part to do the right steps and the right action, to be disciplined enough to execute on the strategy. Because I can teach anybody how to trade in a weekend, but can you do it? Can you follow it? Because I'm not going to be there to push the button for you, right? So I think the biggest thing people need to keep in mind is discipline because nobody's going to tell you what to do in trading. It's you and the computer. You have to tell yourself what to do, what the right thing to do is, and being emotionally stable. Because, yes, trading can be a roller coaster, right? Of emotions. That's what it is for most people. Most people are trading on two emotions, which move the market fear and greed. Stock is going down, and they should probably just get out and take a small loss, but they keep holding. Maybe it'll come back up. Let me buy more. Let me lower my average price. That's all gambling, in my opinion, right? And likewise, the stock goes up, they should be getting out and taking a profit, but then greed kicks in. Maybe it'll go higher. Let me hold it. So they really don't have a plan. They don't really have a system. And without a lack of a system or a plan, you're not going to make it long term. Just like you wouldn't have a business without a business plan, you should not enter trading or investing without a plan.
All right. And social media, particularly platforms like Instagram and X, play a role in your brand. So, how do you balance transparency and authenticity with the inherent highlight reel nature of these platforms?
So I stick very true to kind of my integrity. Like I post content that I feel is going to be valuable to people. So that usually could mean you're going to get lower engagement on social media, because what really works on social media is two things, right? You either polarize people, you say something crazy that people want to share, engage with, and talk about, right? Or you create great content that some people will like it, but some would not. It's not very catchy. But the other way is just to share information honestly. So what I do is I just share everything that I'm doing myself, and then I try to share educational clips. So it might not be for the masses, right? That want to just watch my content because I'm maybe showing a lifestyle or promoting that kind of stuff. So it might not get those views, but it's going to get the right people attracted to me. And I think that's more important. I'd rather get 1,000 or 10,000 people that really think like I do and believe in my system than get millions of views of random people that are not going to have the right mindset for trading. Because it's true though. Like I posted a video on YouTube, how lifestyle date, my day in the life of a millionaire trader, just showing my lifestyle really. That got 2.2 million views on YouTube, right? And I put up an hour-long lecture on like hardcore trading psychology, and it gets 20,000 views. So people's priorities on social media are not really aligned. But I can tell you, I met a whole lot better people and better clients who watch that short video on like hour-long trading lecture than the people who watch lifestyle videos. Because the lifestyle videos, people are attracted to the wrong thing. They're trying to get rich quick, which doesn't exist. So I think there should be a balance. But I think as long as you feel good about what you're posting and that's how you are in real life, I think that's a win for social media.
Okay, and your website, unmol.net, emphasizes evolving. So what does evolution mean to you in the context of trading and entrepreneurship?
So for me, I run a group called the Evolve Mastermind. The whole purpose of Evolve Mastermind is to evolve and level up to the best version of ourselves. That doesn't mean just financially successful, because true success is you being successful in all areas of your life: health, wealth, love, and happiness, right? Because you could be financially successful, but if your relationships are a mess or if your health's a mess, is that really success? Right? The answer is no. Or what if you're in the best shape of your life, but you're financially broke? Is that really success? Not really. So true success is you being at a good enough level that you feel good about yourself in each of those areas. So that's kind of what we do at Evolve, is we try to level up and be the best version of ourselves in all areas. So like I help people with their finances, their wealth, trading, investing, but then I bring on other speakers who are expert in their areas, like health, like fitness, like spirituality. So we try to grow together, because I realize that you can't just grow one thing. You can't just focus on financial wealth, because if what happens is if your health's a mess, if all other areas of your life are a mess, it's going to drag those finances down too, and it's not going to help you be successful. But if you can feel good about yourself mentally, you're spiritually in a good place, you're physically in a good place, now the success gets even bigger financially. So I think all those areas feed into each of those areas. So evolution to me is evolving into the ideal version that you envision yourself to be. When you think about yourself, when you're by yourself, what do you think about yourself? Right. And getting to that version of yourself is what I consider to be evolving, evolution, and success.
Love that. Okay, and when you look at the landscape of trading education today, what are the most critical skills or mindsets that aspiring traders often overlook?
I think the biggest thing is understanding, risk, number one, because I've noticed a lot of traders who come to me who are like ex poker players or ex business owners. They make for really good traders. Why? Because they understand the concept of risk and reward. They understand, like poker players understand when to get in, when to get out, when to hold it, when to fold it, right? And then likewise, we have a lot of ex pilots that are traders now that make for great traders. Why is that? Well, because pilots, no matter how long they've been flying, they could be a veteran in flying, thousands, hundreds of hours of flight time, but still, every single time they'll fly, they'll still go through the checklist, right? They'll still check it, no matter how long they've been flying. They'll go through the pre-flight checklist. So those make for great traders, because when they come into the markets, guess what happens? They're very good at following a checklist, right? They're very good at following the process. They know the amount of risk. Whereas I think people who come from an environment where they've never taken risk in their life, for them it's a little bit harder to cultivate. But again, all of these things can be learned. Can you be good at following a checklist? If so, you can make a good trader, because that's what a good trading system really is. It's just a series of if then statements. If this happens, then we do this. If this happens, when we do that. Is this pattern valid? Check, check, check. You take the trade. So the right mindset is getting into a systematic mindset. So we're not trading on emotions or fear and greed, but we're simply just following a system and letting that system play out.
Okay. And as you mentioned, you have this system, and beyond technical analysis or the market strategies, what role does intuition or gut feeling play in your decision-making process?
So in my decision-making process, gut feel and intuition definitely has a place, but it's a very small place. I think 80-90% of that is still based on my rules, right? My checklist and just going by that. And then there's a level of, intuition that comes into it. But that only happens with experience. So when newer traders come to me and say, I really feel the stock is going to do this. I have this gut feel or intuition. I'm like, based on what? Because, what is gut feel? Gut feel is basically just your experience talking. So if you've done something for like 10, 15 years like I have, then your gut feel is basically just your experience telling you, hey, look at this. You've seen this before, right? This is how it usually plays out. You've seen this happen before. That's what gut feel really is. So you can earn that with experience. But if you're a new trader, you don't have a gut feel because you don't have experience. So you're just, making stuff up. So I think that's what the distinction is if you're new, you don't have a gut feel right now. Now, if you're doing this 10, 15 years, you've seen this happen over and over, almost like the saying goes, I've seen this movie before, I know how it ends, right? Then you can rely on your gut feel. So gut feel is just your experience talking.
Okay. All right. And building a team at Live Traders, of course, requires trust and a shared vision. So how do you identify and cultivate the right talent to support your mission?
I think the right talent really comes from what's your mission, what's your purpose, right? Like for me, I think I've attracted a good team at my company is because we're on the shared vision, like to teach people how to do this themselves, so they don't have to rely on hedge fund managers or watch CNBC or lose money listening to people on X or Reddit or all these different platforms, and they end up gambling. And a lot of people lose a lot of money in the stock market because nobody's taught them to do it the right way. So for us, it's all about empowering the financial future of the people, enabling them to live financially free. And so my team is now on that mission. It's not about getting more clients. It's not about making more sales. It's about how many lives can be changed. And when they're on that same mission, you're going to attract people with that same mindset. So I think that's number one key. Number two thing is transparency and trust. You got to be open with your team. I think a lot of people look at their team members as like employees. They're only going to tell them what to do rather than share what's happening in the business. Whereas with me, it's very open book. Everybody comes on our team meetings. We openly talk about everything, the good, bad, the ugly, what we can do better, what customers are saying, what emails we're getting. And I think that builds the trust and transparency with your team. And that helps you cultivate a high performance team.
Okay. And what's a failure that you've had that you've learned the most from?
I think I've had several failures along my business journey. Even the auto service center that I mentioned. Sure, we had like $1 million plus in sales. Even in our first year of me knowing nothing about the business, but the failure was like proper. You don't realize with the physical business, there's a lot of costs. So yeah, I did $1 million in sales, but then you have like 10 employees to pay. You have all these costs. You have the rent, and the business is not that profitable, right? So that was kind of one of the failures. But I've had many failures. Even in my first year of trading, I lost money my whole first year. I didn't make any money my first year of trading. That was a lot of failures that I had to go through to learn what I know now. But I think the biggest failure was what I was alluding to earlier is in my 20s, I made a good amount of money that I never thought was possible. Moved to New York City, did all the mistakes that I ever did, buy the Ferrari, buy the condo, do all those things. But then I never worked on myself internally, right? Because internally, I was still that introverted kid in high school who never got the attention. And now suddenly I have all this attention on me, right? And you could use that in a very wrong way too. So I think that was kind of the failure that I had in my mindset. I never developed myself, or my identity was still there as a college kid, even though I had this money over here. So I had to build my identity up. I think that I wouldn't say a failure, but that was a pretty big learning lesson for me. And that's why I talk about evolution is evolving into the best version of yourself, who you see yourself being long term.
Mhm. Okay. And looking ahead, what's the next big evolution for Anmol Singh and Live Traders?
I think the next evolution is like I'm trying to put together, a mastermind group which is called Evolve right now. And we have, 50 members right now all across the world. And I'm looking to grow that. I'm trying to build sort of like a board of advisors for everybody else. Because, Napoleon Hill talks about it, even in the Bible, it talks about it everywhere. All the successful book talks about having a group of mastermind, having a board of advisors of your life, right? And that's the group that I'm trying to put together that we're all trying to level up. We all have a growth mindset. We're all trying to get to the best version of ourselves and not just work on one area, but level up all areas of our life. And to be able to bring my inner circle of people that I rely on for advice, bring that to, give them access to all the other members as well. And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to grow is, a movement of people who are trying to level up all areas of their life.
All right. And Anmol, if people want to get in touch and learn more about this mastermind you have or some of the other programs, what's the best way that people can reach out to you?
I think I would love to give your listeners a free copy of my book. I think that's the best place to start because before we work together or if you join the mastermind, like it's really important that you kind of align with the psychology or the mindset that I come from or my philosophy about life and business. So the first step is to read my book. And if you align with the things that I talk about, then we could, discuss more about the mastermind because we're selective about like who we pick into that group. But people can grab a free copy of my book. They can go to my name, unmol.net. So go.unmol.net. And they can just, cover the shipping and, get a free copy of my book. And I think that's a great place to start.
Okay. And we'll link that in the show notes for everyone. All right. Well, Anmol, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and sharing all these valuable lessons from your journey with our audience. We greatly appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It was great chatting with you.
All right. And we will see you next time.